What's up, everyone? It's been a while, to say the least. I believe the last video I made was like May, June-ish. I mean, it was before the playoffs started. Well, that was the last video I was in. There's just me, not a podcast. It was about hockey. But hockey's not on right now, and I have not had content on this channel that has done well. Uh, for that matter, I mean, the podcast has done okay. It's actually done better on a streaming platform called Sounder, whatever. I'm not entirely sure what that is. But on the other hand, I need content, and I need content that'll do okay. So over the quarantine, it's been a long quarantine. Let me tell you that much. I've watched a couple TV shows, and by a couple, I mean I've watched 21 TV shows. I'm not done with one of them, but I feel it's fair to put it in this list. So I think without further ado, if they're going to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank all of them from 21st to 1st. It's going to be a little controversial. I'm going to be quite honest with you. But yeah, so a little bit of background first. At the beginning of the pandemic, I had not seen all the Marvel movies, and I had not really gotten myself into Star Wars. Like I wasn't like I had seen the movies, but I wasn't like into Star Wars. Over the pandemic, or over the quarantine, I got into that kind of stuff. So because of that, I decided to watch a bunch of these shows, which leads me to my first one, which is called Inhumans. It was a show I believe on ABC for a little bit. It only lasted one season. It was a horrible show. The acting was terrible. The writing was terrible. The whole premise in general was pretty bad. The villain was okay. I think he was like the only redeeming quality in the whole movie. I've returned. Sorry, had to go do something. So, I don't know what I was saying other than the fact that I don't like the show Inhumans. It's not a good show. Um, and I'm glad that they didn't incorporate it into the MCU at all, and they did kind of abandon the whole thing. It was terrible. Again, just no redeeming qualities to the overall movie show. Sorry. All right, so number 20 is a show called The Loop. I think it came out in 2007. It lasted for two seasons. One, I believe, the first season had 7 episodes. Second season had 13 episodes. I love sitcoms. Let me just say that right now. It's one of my favorite genres. For some reason, I can't really put my finger on why. But I just love sitcoms. And this sitcom was probably one of the funniest shows I've ever watched. But it was funny because of how horrible it was. It was such a terrible show. The acting was subpar. The script writing was awful. It was funny because of how bad it was. It was good because of how bad it was. It's in that territory of it's so bad, it's good. And, actually the best character they removed in season 2. Which was his roommate crush thing, the main character's roommate crush thing. Crush person, not thing. God, what is wrong with me? That was probably she was the only good character in the entire first season. And then they removed her. And then the second season just seemed like a shell of the first season, which is bad because the show was already so horrible. Basically what the premise of each episode was this guy, I don't remember his name, I watched a while ago, he would, go to work, he'd, get some big project or whatever, and then he'd get stuck doing something else, and he couldn't finish the project, and then he somehow was able to pull off finishing the project in a way that blew his boss's mind. It was just the stupidest show. Completely unrealistic, not relatable whatsoever. It was so stupid, but it was really funny because of how stupid it was. Number 19 is a new show. They just got renewed on Hulu. I believe it came out really early into the pandemic, sometime maybe April or May. It was called Crossing Swords. Now it's so far down this list because, other than the fact that everything else that I watched was just better than this show, except The Loop and Inhumans. I thought the show was good. I thought it was funny. Nothing groundbreaking or anything. I thought it was interesting the way that they portrayed. I thought the time period they chose for the show was interesting. It was interesting to do kind of one of these medieval shows, kind of like in in the vein of Game of Thrones and stuff like that, and they made a lot of fun of and they made fun of a lot of pop culture, which I thought was interesting to do with a medieval themed show. The animation was cool. I thought the characters were really well done. It was a good show. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was funny, but I can completely understand why other people didn't like it. My mom was not a fan, but overall, I thought it was a fairly good show. Just every other show I watched was better. So number 18, I didn't watch this whole show. I went through and I watched each event, and like a major event, like couple. It was like either like 2-3 episodes long, and it was Avengers Assemble, which was the second incarnation of the Avengers, the modern Avengers team. I started watching it. I think I got through 7 episodes, and then I just said, "Screw it! I want to go see all of the events, all like the major events." And they had the Ultron event. They had the Thanos event. They had the Annihilation event. Obviously scaled down versions of it, but I thought the show was cool. I didn't like the twist at the end of the Thanos events where Thanos ended up being Ultron. I thought that was super stupid. The show was fine. I mean, the couple episodes I watched they were fine. And I'll get to this later, but it's nowhere near as good as Earth's Mightiest Heroes in terms of quality. So, number 17 is Mythic Quest. Again, the show's at the bottom. I also just got renewed on Apple TV Plus. Again, it's at the bottom. I really enjoyed the show. I thought the characters were really good. There's some pretty decent character development in the show. Thought the actors all did a very good job. I liked the premise of it, and it really kind of appealed to nerdy people. But it's us again, just like Crossing Swords. It's so low on this list because everything I watched was better than it. It could definitely be higher, but the shows I watched were just some of the shows I watched were just so good that it's this low. There's not much to say on it. Like I said, I got renewed for season 2. I believe the guy who wrote the show, or at least directs the show, and it produces the show, and he's in the show, is from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I've yet to watch. But he's the main character. I think he played a really good character. I don't know, just the great performances overall from all the actors. The script was pretty. The script writing was pretty good. The scenarios were decent. And I believe it's been a while since I watched it, but I believe there's a big twist at the end of the show, or at least sometime in the show. I'm not gonna give anything away in case you want to watch it. So yeah. So 16 is actually, I don't have Netflix, but I got the free trial of Netflix for like a month during the pandemic because I just really wanted to explore into some of the Marvel stuff I said I'd got into. And so the next one on this list is the Defenders. I didn't watch Iron Fist. Mostly because my subscription was running out, but also because everyone said it was awful. And just from this show alone, I saw that. I did not think the actor was all that great. Charlie Cox was as Daredevil was kind of the saving grace of the show. And this came out a couple years ago, so I'm gonna say spoiler warning, but I'm not. If you haven't seen it at this point, you should go watch it. It's 8 episodes. I watched it in one night, so that was something. Like one day, from like midnight to like 5 in the morning, and then I went to sleep and woke up watched the rest of it. Kristen Ritter did a really good job in the show. Oh god, who's the guy who plays Luke Cage? I can't remember his name, but he's fantastic. He's a fantastic actor. Those three carried the show pretty well. Sigourney Weaver was good as well. But Sigourney Weaver was a decent villain. Not great. And then at the end, Daredevil died. So there's my spoiler. But I think this took place between seasons 2 and 3 of Daredevil, I want to say. And after season 1 of Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage. I watched the first season of all of them except Iron Fist. I didn't get to Punisher either. But whatever. It was really good. I enjoyed it, but again, not as good as some of these other ones in this list. Um, Again, Sigourney Weaver was an okay villain. It almost seemed like it was too long. It was like 8 1 hour episodes, like 8 hours. It's a lot to go through. Definitely thought there were some boring parts in it, and just arguing with each other constantly near the beginning before actually going ahead and doing the um, the fighting and stuff. The fighting scenes were really cool, especially the Iron Fist Daredevil one in the office building. I thought that was really cool. And then at the very end in the caverns, I thought that was really cool. The choreography was great in it, but again, I watched so many great shows that it's just this one's at the bottom. It might have to do with more that it dragged on and the villain wasn't amazing. I mean, I love Sigourney Weaver, but not her best. Number 15, again, another really new show. I don't know if it's going to be picked up by Hulu. It was originally supposed to be Marvel, or for a second season, rather. It was originally Marvel who made it. Then, I believe, Marvel TV shut down, so they abandoned it. And then, I think, was it Ghost Rider and one other show got canceled. So they didn't want to, bring it into the MCU like they were going to. Um, I think maybe would have tied in with Blade at some point. But Hellstrom, it's originally Marvel's Hellstrom, but now it's Hulu's Hellstrom. I watched this in about a week because I'm not someone who can do scary shows. I mean, I like them. It just takes me a lot to do it. And I watched this pretty quickly. I thought the show was really, really well done. It was genuinely a creepy show, which I think is more important to me than jump scares. The effects were incredible, and the acting, especially by the person who played the Hellstrom mom, she was fantastic in this show. She was incredible. The way she was able to switch from being the mom to their mother was just really, really cool. Incredible TV show. I really liked it. Again, so low on this list because I don't think it was I don't think it in terms of quality it should be this low, but in terms of where I liked the shows, this is definitely more near the bottom. But even though I really, really like the show, and I hope it does come back for season two. I would love if they could tie it in back into the MCU, but they probably won't. It's a little bit too much for the MCU at the moment. Maybe if this had come out after Multiverse or Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, maybe. I think maybe it could have been a little higher, or it could have been tied into the MCU. So number 14, like I said, I love sitcoms. It's called Single Parents. Season 1 was way better than season 2. I did not care for season 2 all that much, which is why it's so low on this list. But season 1 I thought was really good. It had a good ensemble cast. I think, even though I'm not a parent myself, I could definitely see how it's relatable to, single parents and the struggle it is to navigate your love life and navigate having a child and stuff like that. And I just thought the writing in the first season was really good. It was a pretty funny show. I mean, it's not like one of those you're howling every couple minutes, every couple seconds shows, but it had its funny moments. Taron Killam, I thought he was really good in the show. The main actress was also really good in the show. Great performances all around, I think, from everyone in the first season. The second season kind of, eh. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting show. I thought it was funny. But again, that's why it's this low. I liked it a little bit more than I liked Hellstrom. Only a little bit. It was kind of tossed up with those two where I was going to put them. Number 13, this show is definitely not better than the last two. But I liked it more. I got greater joy out of this show than I did the other ones, and the fact that it's even this high on this list is probably piss off a lot of people. But Star Wars Resistance, which is the newer Star Wars show, I thought it was really good. Now, if you want to watch something that ties into the Star Wars universe really well and makes you understand the Star Wars a little bit more, sets up all these different plot points for the newer movies even, it's not going to do that. This show is strictly just for entertainment. It has no tie. It's got a couple tie-ins at the end of season 1. and I think it's a 2 season show. At the end of season one, it overlaps with um, the Star Wars. I think it was the Force Awakens when they use Star Killer Base to destroy all the planets that they do. I can't remember for the life of me what they are. That was interesting for sure. But again, it's one of those shows that, like, if you like Star Wars and you like kind of like expanding the universe of Star Wars, not the expanded universe, is a completely different thing. Then you'll enjoy the show. It's not, again, it doesn't add much, but I really liked it, especially because there's a character in it named Niku, who's an engineer who can function socially, and I really relate to that. So that's probably one of the reasons why it's this high on my list. But again, it doesn't add all that much to Star Wars itself, but I enjoy it. The next one is Milo Murphy's Law. Now, I'm still watching this show, but I think I've gotten through enough of the show to where I think I can put this in here. Um, Milo Murphy's Law is really funny because of how chaotic it is and how everywhere it is. Like, the whole premise of the show is that there's this kid named Milo Murphy. He's a descendant of the guy who created, or not created, or coined the term Murphy's Law. And Murphy's Law, if you don't know, is everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And basically, so what happens is in Milo's life, he's got to navigate everything going wrong that can go wrong. Um, and I think they do a really good job of it. They had a Phineas and Ferb crossover at the end of season one, the beginning of season two, which I thought was okay. It was okay. Um, if you like Dr. Doofenshmirtz, though, his storyline continues in Milo Murphy's Law, especially the second season. I'm not gonna give anything away, but so yeah, and then Pistachios play uh, a huge part in the first season. There's a whole arc about pistachios. There's time traveling. Dan Povenmire is just great. So Swampy Marsh. It's a great show. I don't think it stacks up quite as well as it does, compared to Phineas and Ferb, but I don't think it's supposed to. They're almost two completely different shows, even though they do a small crossover. Um, but I think they're really good shows. It's a really good show. And I definitely think anyone who liked Phineas and Ferb should definitely give this a watch. Um, Number 11 is a show Upload, which I believe was just picked up for a second season on Amazon Prime. Upload is about basically when you die, you get uploaded in like this computer reality, and that's where you live. And that's your beyond the grave living, or your conscience gets uploaded, and that's your beyond the grave living. And basically, what happens is the main character, he dies, and then he has to navigate living in this quote unquote perfect world, um, while also kind of interacting with the outside world and trying to figure out his love life and stuff like that. It's an interesting show. I really really liked it, and there are a lot of twists and turns, especially at the end. And I'm glad it got a second season because it ended with a cliffhanger. So there's not really much I can say about Upload other than the fact it's a really good show, really good acting, really good script. I just think overall it's a fantastic show, and I definitely think you should go and watch it on Amazon Prime. Number 10, we're in the top 10 now, is Spider-Man. I'm sorry, Ultimate Spider-Man, which is Drake Bell's version of Spider-Man, who is my favorite version of Spider-Man. I mean, it takes elements from the comics here and there. He crosses over with the Avengers a couple times, like the Avengers assembles Avengers, um, and he does actually he was this version of Spider-Man was in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes too, which I think is kind of funny. But yeah, I think the show was really good. Drake Bell really brought great character. He was kind of Spider-Man was more like a Deadpool Spider-Man. Maybe he's like this in the comic. I have not read any Spider-Man comics, which is weird for me because he was my favorite superhero for the longest time. But he broke the fourth wall. He had like these goofy little side cartoons to explain things. The multiverse the multiverse arc was really really good. Um, this is personally, I think this is the best Spider-Man cartoon. A lot of people have said that the newer Spider-Man one's really good too. I haven't gotten a chance to watch that yet, but There's different arcs. I think in the third and fourth season of this show. I think it's the Web Warriors arc, and then the I don't know, but it's really cool the way they did it. Tom Kenny played a killer um, Doc Ock. I think he did a great job with Doc Ock. There's so much praise I can sing for this show, and which is why it's the top 10. I love it. If you have Disney Plus, I definitely suggest you go watch The Ultimate Spider-Man, especially if you love Spider-Man. Drake Bell, like I said, does a fantastic job with him. Um, there's definitely a different kind of Spider-Man than most people are used to, so um, I love it. But it's one of those because I've watched a lot of amazing shows. Number 9, Luke Cage. So I only got a chance to watch the first season of Luke Cage because my subscription ended, and trying to watch all these shows in 30 days is hard, especially when you have school, which I was still wrapping up at the time. But Luke Cage is such a good show. Um, just the acting in it was superb. It was so good, and the villain, oh god, Diamondback, I think it was awesome. And just the whole arc with um, oh no, that was the problem I had with it. The villain, who I think was the villain for the first couple of seasons, he was working for Diamondback. I thought he was better than Diamondback. That's what it was. Um, he was really good. I don't remember who played him. He's a very talented actor. I cannot for the life of me think of his character's name or his name. But the main villain for the first, I think, 4 or 5 episodes, and then he died, and then Diamondback came and took his spot as. I didn't care for that part. I think Cottonmouth. That's who it was. Cottonmouth. I think Cottonmouth should have been the big bad through the first season, and then maybe the second season bringing Diamondback. I don't know what they did in the second season, but I think Cottonmouth was such an intriguing villain, and the actor who played him was so good that I kind of didn't like that they killed him off like that. And his whole Cottonmouth's whole backstory was incredible, really tragic, and you kind of felt for him, as even though he was a bad guy. Um, yeah, and then Claire Temple, played by Rosario Dawson. She's an incredible actress too. She was really good in the show. And I like how they gave her a bit of a relationship with Luke Cage, so that was really cool. All right, so number 8 on the list is Jessica Jones. Again, I only watched the first season. I think I watched the first couple episodes of the season 2. I didn't care for that as much because there's really no clear villain in the first, other than I guess she's more or less fighting her inner demons in season 2. The first couple episodes I watched of it, but season 1, this is where I started with Jessica Jones when I had my Netflix thing, and oh my god, the guy who played Kilgrave, the Purple Man, which I'm kind of glad they didn't make him purple. I mean, they made him dress in purple, but he was absolutely incredible. I think his first name's David in real life, but Zebediah Kilgrave, whoever played the actor who played him was superb, incredible. Like the villains in the Netflix shows were awesome. I don't think the MCU has come anywhere close to developing such good villains, and I think that's partly because they just can't. They don't have the time to do it in a movie, you know. I guess they try to do it with Thanos because they developed him over a couple, at least short scenes in a couple different movies. But I don't. He does not stack up to Cottonmouth, Kilgrave, or Kingpin, who I'll get to in a minute. But the guy who played Kilgrave was incredible, and Jessica Jones, Kristen Ritter, she was really good. I actually early in the year I'd watched her show, Don't Trust to Be in Apartment 23, and just day and night. She's an incredible actress. She's actually a really good singer too. If you guys ever check out her only CD, Ex Vivian. But just incredible. Like all the more except Iron Fist, they were all incredible in the Netflix Marvel shows. There's not much I could say about it. I mean, you just have to watch it to just Jessica Jones, just to see how good the show is. Number 7, and I think this is going to be very controversial for a lot of people. Why this is this low? This is at 7, not in the higher ones. Number 7 is Mandalorian. Like I said, I didn't watch Star Wars until this year, and of course I didn't watch The Mandalorian. So I'm going to just talk about Season 1 as opposed to Season 2 because that's still currently going on. but I am watching it. But Mandalorian season one was really really good. I love the Jedi. I love the Sith. I love all that kind of stuff. It was nice to get a show that didn't have that in it. That's the same thing with Resistance, actually, for me personally. Um, Not that there's anything wrong with Jedi and stuff like that. Well, there is, but that's a topic for a different day. But nothing, not this is wrong with lightsaber wielding people or animals, aliens. Sorry, it's just the show was so good and it didn't need it, you know. But it did have a staple of uh, Star Wars films, and that was bounty hunters. And the child who we now, if you, I'm not gonna give anything away because if you haven't watched the latest episode, I'm not gonna give anything away. The child definitely added something else. I mean, just it was interesting to just kind of make an arc where someone needs you to get this child for you, and then you walk in on them doing experiments to it, and then you steal it back, and then you just kind of gone against everything that you usually do, and you didn't serve the client like bounty hunters do. Um, and it was an interesting premise, and I really enjoyed it. All the characters are fantastic. The actors who were actually in the Mandalorian suit were great. Um, Pedro Pascal, I think his name is, fantastic. Um, all the actors in the show are really good, and honestly, you know who doesn't get enough credit? It's the puppeteer behind Baby Yoda. And applause for the child and Baby Yoda, whatever you want to call it. Call him. Um, the show is just really good. It was the last show I watched out of all the Star Wars things because it was the shortest. So I got nothing but praises. It's pretty much like that from here on out. Nothing but praises for the show, The Mandalorian. Coming in number 6 is Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Now this came out, I believe, before the original Avengers movie. I believe it might have even come out before. It came out before a large. I know that much. It came out before um, the Avengers movie. Everything about this show is awesome. The animation is very reminiscent of the early 2000s or like the late 90s, kind of like that Buzz Lightyear Star Command kind of animation style. Um, it's incredible. This show is so good. Not all the plots were great, but the acting was great. The voice actors were incredible in this show. Um, I really think he sounded more like Tony Stark than the guy later on. They got a Tony Stark impressionist for this show, and then they got a Tony Stark impressionist for Avengers Assemble. But Earth's Mightiest Heroes was really good. You had Ant Man. You had Ant Man, but it wasn't like Scott Lang Ant Man, which I mean he did come in later in the episode, later in the show. It didn't deserve to only get two seasons. The show was way better than that. It should have kept going, in my opinion. They had a lot left to give. Um, the Ultron arc was really good. The Secret Wars arc was really 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 good. In this show, and I hope that that if the MCU decides to go that route, I hope they can do something at least similar to that. So Earth's Mightiest Heroes again. If you have Disney Plus, you know what? Just anything I've listed here, if it's on Disney Plus, I would recommend you go watch it. Number 5, and this is where it's going to get um, a little controversial. Number 5, I have Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Yes, I watched both this. I watched all 4 shows, essentially. I watched Rebels, Clone Wars, um, Resistance, and Mandalorian. Yes, Mandalorian's up to Clone Wars. I think most people would agree with that. I have not mentioned Rebels yet, which means it's above Clone Wars. I'll get to that later. Clone Wars, especially with season 7, was such an incredible show. Like, of course, there's some filler, but technically the entire series is filler. It's supposed to like link episode 2 with episode 3. So anyone who hates the filler episodes kind of like doesn't understand the point of the show. Um, they introduced 2 of my favorite characters in the entire Star Wars universe. And that's Ahsoka Tano. I think everyone likes Ahsoka Tano. And Asajj Ventress. I did not like Asajj Ventress at first. I loved where her character went. and how and the betrayal she felt after being ousted out outed by being, in her words, betrayed by Count Dooku, almost killed. Just and her dueling style is awesome. I love the dual lightsabers. Um, she's a really cool character design. I just love Star Adventures. I actually just bought Dark Disciple book, uh, and I'm very excited to read it. I gotta finish the Thrawn book I'm reading right now, but um, it's just the Clone Wars introduced those two, and to watch Ahsoka's character development like throughout the show into season 7 was incredible, and to watch her at the end of the show when Anakin turns was probably one of the most depressing things I've ever seen. And the big spoilers here, if you haven't watched the show, the fact that she with her group of soldiers or clone group of clone soldiers, they all had their face painted like her and to honor her. And the fact that they did that, and then they had the clones, they execute Order 66, and that the fact that they turned on her while still honoring her, it's just a haunting detail, and I applaud Dave Filoni day and night over that. That was incredible. Season 7. Now, the beginning of season 7, or beginning of Ahsoka Tano's arc there with the other girls, I enjoyed it. Apparently, a lot of people didn't. I didn't think it was necessary, but Clone Wars has a lot of unnecessary episodes. I really like the episodes where they had I think was Five's part of that group. I have no idea, but basically it was when they were training and they had to learn to work together. I like that arc. That was really cool. Um, Cad Bane, another great character that introduced. Another great bounty hunter that the Clone Wars show introduced, and to watch, and just even in the first, and even when we just had the movies, to watch, or when I just first had the movies. I mean, everyone's had the Clone Wars since whenever, and I just watched the movies this year and the Clone Wars. But to watch Anakin's fall to the dark side in the first 3 movies was haunting enough. And then when you add in the Clone Wars, which for a lot of people made the movies better, which, I mean, I think that was the point. I like the movies either way, to be honest. But to watch his fall to the dark side throughout the series, and then to tie it in with the movies, it was just it's art in its purest form. I think they added so much to um, Lucas, George Lucas's original vision, and it's an incredible show. And I forgot they brought back Darth Maul in Clone Wars too. His arc was awesome, and then the fight between him and Ahsoka, when Anakin turned, or was turning to the dark side. Just the raw emotion of season 7 is just out of this world, which says a lot for me to put it at 5 and for number 4 to be Star Wars Rebels. Let me explain myself. Kanan Jarrus. I just maybe it was because they're short. I have no idea. But the 4 seasons, as I got to watch Kanan and as I got to watch Ezra, Sabine, and what is his name? Hera, and not that's not who I was trying to think of. Hera, and is it Zeb? As I watched them grow as characters, it was really cool. And then just see like the sparking of the resistance happening, um, to combat the Empire, and to watch Kanan fight the people who were hunting him. I can't remember their names, but just to watch those, like the lightsaber battles were incredible too, especially the Ahsoka Tano Darth Vader one. Especially it kills every time when she says Anakin, and then she looks at him and says Ahsoka, and he looks at her and says Ahsoka, and just to watch pure emotion of Ahsoka, because the way they continued her arc was fantastic in that show. Except the end, I don't care about how she survived, but it is what it is. And just they explored the Force a lot more than I think the Clone Wars did. Um, and the thing that fascinates me most about that show and the Force is that how it connected to nature, and the fact that Ezra was able to make such a deep connection in the Force with animals and stuff like that, especially the whales. They have a name, I can't remember what they are. And then it also introduced the big bad in the last two seasons of Grand Admiral Thrawn, who was just, he's my favorite villain in Star Wars. Period. Especially non Force users. Obviously, I love Asajj Ventress, and then my next favorite, my first favorite is Thrawn, then it's Asajj Ventress. Now it's probably Vader. But this show introduced a lot of people to Thrawn who aren't like big on the books. His first appearance was in Heir to the Throne, all those years ago, and then brought across the Thrawn trilogy. Now there's a new Thrawn trilogy about. I think it leads up to Rebels, but just the character development of Rebels and the connection of the Force to nature. It was just, I thought the show was spectacular. One of my favorite shows I've ever watched, personally. So that's all I have to say. I thought it was awesome. I plan on watching it again. I plan on watching Clone Wars again too, but just, and I didn't think I was gonna like it either. But as season 2, 3, and 4 really solidified how good that show was. Number 3, I'm gonna take it for a twist. A lot of these have been kids shows or Star Wars or Marvel related. A lot of them, not all of them, obviously. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these have nothing. 9 of the 21 of these have nothing to do with Marvel. So I've Marvel or Star Wars. So the other 12 of them had to do. Anyway, number 3 is Harley Quinn, and I'm talking about the DC's Harley Quinn. The show that's on DC's app, but it's now on HBO Max. That show was funny. That show was witty. That show had great character development. That show had great animation. Let me tell you, that animation is really, really good. The voice actors were incredible. Kaylee Cuoco was born to play Harley Quinn. And I was found it funny that when I found out she was Harley Quinn, because in the Big Bang Theory, she had to learn about comic books, and she didn't know anything about it, and that was really not her area of expertise. And then near the end, or at least when they were where I stopped watching the Big Bang Theory, she understood it. You know, she got it, and just I just found it funny that how she went into the comic book universe and started playing Harley Quinn. I don't know. I thought that was funny, but she plays Harley Quinn amazingly. I think it's my favorite incarnation of Harley Quinn. I haven't watched many incarnations of Harley Quinn except the one that Margot Robbie does. Not great. It's okay. I kind of like the fact that Kaylee Cuoco didn't use the heavy accent, because that's annoying as shit. Especially a bad one. They're really annoying, and most of the Harley Quinn ones are really bad. The Mr. J. It's annoying. Take it from someone who used to live up there, but so yeah, just everything about that show is awesome. And I believe they renewed it for season 3. So there you go. Hopefully that comes about, because I kind of left it on a little bit of a cliffhanger. I'm not going to give anything away on that one. But it's gory, there's a lot of cursing, so if you don't like that, don't watch it. But if you do, I watch it. Number 2. See, we're almost done. It didn't take that long. Number 2, which might be one of my favorite shows of all time. No, definitely one of my favorite shows of all time. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I know. After talking about Star Wars and comic book movies or shows, in the last 8 of them, yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Again, like I said, I love sitcoms, and I watched the first couple. I'd seen the show before, but I never really got into it. But when I saw it was on Hulu, I was like, all right, I'll give this show a shot. I think I binge watched it in a week. I think I watched like a season a day. It was funny. The characters are incredible. The actors are so good. It's a diverse show too, and it touches on a lot of really good subjects. Like I believe in season 4, it touches on racial profiling, and I thought that was very important. I think they're probably going to do something about all the things that happen with the police this year in the next season. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do with that. It's just a good show. There's not much I can say about it. Andy Samberg is a genius, a comedic genius. I wouldn't say like a normal genius, but he's definitely a comedic genius. Um, Definitely go watch his new movie, Palm Springs. It's also really good. Um, but he was just so good. He's so good in the show. Melissa Fumero is amazing. Stephanie Beatrice is amazing. The thing that caught me off guard with Stephanie Beatrice, let me tell you something, is her actual voice. You know, she doesn't sound like Rosa. She's like this really high pitched Valley Girl accent, not like this really low, like tough accent. No, I guess it's not really an accent, but voice. And it threw me for a spin when I heard it for the first time. I was like, oh my god, that's her? So, like, whenever she's making fun of someone in the show, that's actually, like, her, like, making fun of someone like a high-pitched voice, that's her actual voice. So, obviously, props to that. The guy who plays Raymond Holt, Andre Brower, that's who it is. Incredible. I think he's one of my favorite characters. And the guy who plays Terry, he's on America's Got Talent. His name is Terry Crews. Duh. They did not change his name. And then Jolo Truglio, also fantastic. Like, it's just a great cast. Great in every way, and I love it. I love the show. I can't say enough good things about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like, I'll do an episode about it, but like that's amongst my favorites, along with Scrubs, Community, How I Met Your Mother. And then also this one's up there too, which feels like it should be, but the number one best show I watched over quarantine, over this whole pandemic thing, was Daredevil. Hands down. Every actor in it was amazing. The writing was amazing. Season 3 was iffy, but it was still really, really good. Especially the way they made him, psychologically, they made him, like, go through Season 3 was incredible. Season 2 with the Punisher was so good. So good. And there's moral dilemmas, and in Season 3, he more or less questioned his Catholicism, which is what he's doing right now in the comic book. If you're reading the current Daredevil series, he's really questioning his place as Daredevil, which I think he did a lot of in the 3rd season. And the fact that they brought him back to life was a little weird, but I guess he never really died, did he? But they brought him back to the church, his church, and he did go through a lot mentally. And just that season, and then the fight scenes in every season were just so good. Especially the one with the Punisher. And let me tell you, Season 1, the best Marvel villain, and I guess technically it's MCU, but it's like a one shot, what they call it in the comic book world, one shot in the MCU. Because they talk about the Battle of New York sometimes, I think in all 3 shows. But the way William D'Onofrio, I think that's his name, plays Kingpin is incredible. That man, if he didn't get an Emmy, he definitely deserved one. He deserved one. He was so good in this show. Damn. That's all I can say. Is damn. He was so good in the show. Charlie Cox, incredible. I don't know who played the Augie Nelson or her name. I can't remember her name. She was incredible in Season 2. When she was kind of investigating in the Punisher. I heard she was in the Punisher series, but I have not been able to check that out. But just across the board, incredible show. Like, that was the best show by far I watched over break. I keep calling it break. Over quarantine. Can't say enough good things about it. If you have Netflix and you love Marvel, please go watch it. So, yeah. And that is my official rankings of all 21 shows I watched over quarantine. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up if you want to see more. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell me what I should do on future videos. I would love if you were to do that. I need more video ideas. But yeah, hopefully some content steadily coming your way. Everybody have a great day. So, peace out, party people. Also, you like my new webcam?